Hi, everybody. Sherri Leopold here. Super excited to be here with this episode of Woman of Worth Award winner, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. She is an incredible woman, a powerhouse, and I'm so excited to congratulate you, Mary, on this award.
Thank you, Sherri. I really appreciate it. I really do. It's an honor. It's an honor to know women like you and to be, I don't know, just to be connected to you. You know, you're a very real inspiration. I hope you know that.
Thank you so much. And spoken like a true woman of worth who always sees the worth in other women. So that should show you right there why she has gotten this award. However, I do want to ask you, Mary, what does it mean to you when you hear the words woman of worth and you stand in that? Well, how does that resonate with you? What does it mean to you?
Mm. Well, sometimes we wonder if we're worthy, don't we, in our life? And in women, I think really I think that's a challenge for a lot of women is our worth and our value. And look at our history, right? Women weren't very valued, so we have that as our history. So I think for women, we're still fighting for that, and I think it's important for me, especially, to walk a path of integrity. To walk my talk, you know, not just be a talker, but be a doer. That's important for me. So I think a woman of worth is somebody who she finds her passion, she leads and works from her passion and her heart, and she's transparent and she walks her path of integrity. And I think that is just so important. You know, how to make the world a better place, how to make your life better, how to honor who you are as a human, because we really are all amazing human beings. And even though we get down on ourselves, we feel bad about ourselves. Sometimes we have to pick up from there. We have to find the things that we love about ourselves, or at least like, and we need to honor those. And we also have to judge ourselves. You know, I was talking about this earlier this morning. You know, we have to find what our value and worth is, not what the world says, or anyone in our family, or anyone else that we know that we're connected with. But what do we feel about ourselves? And this is not talking. We're not talking about ego, right, Sherri? We're talking about celebrating that light we were born with, and we're talking about celebrating your light and every other woman's light, and men too, right? So we don't want to leave
Yes.
those guys out, but we are talking about women of worth. So I think
We
all
are,
those
because we
are
are
good.
talking about Women's History Month, and
Yes.
so we're gonna mention that quite a few times. I do want to ask you, Mary. You wear a lot of hats, like most of the Women of Worth award
Yeah.
winners. You do a lot of things, and you impact the world in a lot of ways. Can you just share a
Mm.
brief summary of some of the ways that you are serving people and that you are impacting the world?
Mm. Well, we hope we're impacting the world. That's our goal, right? So, I am an author. I'm an award-winning children's author. I have some adult anthology collaborative books. Some I'm in with Sherri, and I have another one hopefully coming out this next year that is an adult book. But my goal is to write empowering books for children, whoever I'm writing for, that it empowers them. So it's not just a story. I love to tell stories, but it's also there's teaching in there, and there's tools that when I talk to kids, I really focus on giving them tools that they can use, talking about tools they can use to help empower them to go from a place of maybe, not the best mental space or emotional space they may be in, but help them to be able to process what they're feeling and get into a better space. Because those are tools they can use their entire life. So if we can teach kids that at an early age, teach them motivating words, affirmative words, empowering words, they can take that with them anywhere and they can use it at any time. It's free. Nobody can ever take that from them. And it will help them going into the workforce. It's going to help them going into, relationships when they get older and parenting. So I think it's really valuable. I'm also an advocate for special needs and disabilities. So it's something I'm very passionate about in my life, is trying to make the world a better place for children who have disabilities and challenges, not only for my own two that I have advocated for, but other people's children as well. And that's very important to me. me. I'm connected to some organizations who are, global. There's one that's global that makes sure that companies all over the world hire people with disabilities. I'm very excited this Saturday, April 1st. Have helped put together a art exhibit that the 8 artists included at the Nashville Public Library all have some sort of disability or challenge. So I'm super excited about that because we want to celebrate. This is a celebration of others, and this is a celebration that's unique because it's others that have a challenge. Maybe they don't even have a voice because they're nonverbal, but it is called Creativity Empowers because art definitely is such a channel for some folks. And I was writing up the verbiage that's going to go with it, and so as I was thinking about what does art really mean to folks who may not be able to speak for themselves, it gives them a voice, and it gives us a vision into their mind and to their world, and it helps to empower them. And the creations are incredible. So we need to share that with other people. So that's some of
Absolutely.
the stuff that I'm doing.
Oh, and you could talk for like 2 hours on all the things that you do because you're
Yeah.
just so involved in so many incredible projects. But
Thank
I think
you.
that was just a beautiful taste of the incredible human being that you are in all the different
Thank
ways
you.
that you serve. And I absolutely applaud you for that. You are such a champion of other people, both with disabilities and without. You're just that really kind, compassionate human being who I am so proud to say is a woman of
Hmm.
worth.
Thank
Mary,
you.
because we are talking about Women's History Month, I want to give you the opportunity to share if there has been some women in your life, it could be one or more than one, that has been impactful for you on your journey that has allowed you the space to know that you are a woman of worth. Who is it that has impacted you?
Mm. Well, I think, I've been impacted by so many women, like most of us have, because we don't live a life without interactions with others. But, there are things I've learned from women that were not the greatest relationships. It taught me a lot. And there's things that I have learned and taken from women who, like, just the journey, Sherry, you and I've been on with Linda. Linda's one of our heroes with the whole Women Action Takers Network. We are just surrounded by women who all they want to do is do their purpose in life, what's driving them, and support other women. And so that, I mean, what could be more powerful than that, right? So in my life, I didn't know until I was an adult and looked back and went, wow, I had no idea that from my childhood, what my mother was doing when I was a child, what her mother did when she was a child would come down the line and would really fuel the work that I do today. Before I had kids, I had no idea I'd ever be an advocate. Had no clue about any of that, that would be part of my life. And my mom went to work when I was about 9 years old in the college system. When she went into work there at the college in Orlando, the IDEA and FAPE laws were coming in. That's education for disabilities, and a free education for those laws had not been there before. So all of these laws were being formed, and it was in the 70s. And my mother was at the college, and she worked in what was called the handicap department, which we don't really use that word anymore. And she had all these students that had no rights; they had nothing. So because these laws were coming into place, my mother was able to jump in, like she did, like some things that I've done, like you've done, Sherry, just had a passion, saw a door opening, God said, do it, and she did it. And so she wrote all these grants to get all these programs written for the handicapped students in her college, and then ended up training people across the United States. So these programs are used all over the world now. And as a kid, I had no idea what my mother was really doing, but when I was growing up in middle school and high school, we always had somebody at our home for dinner in a wheelchair or on a walker or cerebral palsy or any number of things that someone, might have as a challenge. There was always someone at my home that we were feeding, taking care of, and you never realize the impact of that till you're an adult. and all of a sudden you go, wow, this is what I'm doing. My life has led me in the direction that now I'm an advocate advocating. And so what I have learned, I started out advocating for, well, as soon as we get pregnant, we're an advocate, right? Because we have to take care of our bodies and our baby. But when you have a child who's born with special needs, the advocacy journey takes a whole different, I mean, it looks completely different. So you have to educate yourself and you have to learn. And I ended up getting certified as an advocate because when my third child came and had issues, I was like, okay, I need some help here and understanding things and learning and empowering myself so I can empower my child, which is so important. But, I had no idea that all that would impact me so much. And I was like, and one day I remember thinking, wow, okay, so all of these things all in your life lead sometimes to one moment in your life that you go, wow, wow. Thank you, God, so much for those experiences, for being led to those, for being exposed to those things, because it teaches you compassion for others and a drive to help others. And my advocacy work has even taken me to work on medical things. I just was in meetings 2 weeks ago with senators trying to come up with legislation. I did that years ago over something that happened to one of my children, but now it's on a different side that I'm working. But it's taken it, I didn't know the path it was going to take, and it's gone in a couple of different directions, but it all interweaves, and I could not be more thankful for it. My granny would go into where lower income housing was, and she would wake up the drunk men. My mother would sit in the car, right? She was like 7, and my little tiny 5-foot granny would go in and she would put food on the stove and she'd make them a pot of coffee and sober them up and drag them into church. And, I wish I could have been there to see her do this, because can you imagine? I mean, she's this tiny little thing, but they weren't going to mess with her. Obviously, she was very serious about God.
I love that. And you know
I
what?
know.
That's so I love the stories that you shared about them, because one of the things that keeps reoccurring in this series is really the impact that people have had on the woman that we're talking to today. But it's really become apparent that those women were just doing what they were doing. They had no idea you would be sitting here today talking about them and their impact on you, which actually
Mm.
leads to my final question that I want to ask you, Mary.
Okay.
As somebody 100 years down the road, maybe sitting in a seat just like this, and they hear the name Mary Elizabeth Jackson, what is it that they're going to say? What legacy is it that you're writing that like someone else is going to be speaking about you the way you just spoke about your mom and your grandma?
Mhm. I'm not sure, but I hope it has to do with a mom who advocated for her children and tried to make the world a better place and taught them how to be the best person that they could be and to understand that they have to live. If we're so self-consumed in our weaknesses or tragedies and traumas, we can't ever be a whole person and we can't ever help anyone else. So I hope that that's a legacy I leave for my children and for others, is to fight for what is right out there, to do the right thing. I think it's a tragedy if you can make a difference in the world and you just sit by and watch things that are happening and you don't do anything. I think we're responsible to make the world the best place that it can be, wherever that is that we fit in. And also to be a writer of words that help empower others. That's very important to me, is writing those words that help heal and bring joy and tell stories and lessons in education.
I love that so much. And you are doing that in so many different ways, not just in your actions, but in your print of your story. That legacy is going to live on attached to your name and to all the people whose lives you're touching, even in the ripple effect of even when you help with legislation, you help people you don't even know. So, congratulations,
Mm,
Mary, on being a Woman of Worth award winner for 2022. I am
mm,
absolutely
mhm.
certain that people are going to want to get in touch with you and get connected with you and at least have a conversation with you because you're just such a phenomenal person. And how are they going to contact you, Mary?
Um, you can find me at www.maryejackson.com. So all of my children's books are there, the anthologies are there, the links to the shows I do are there, and there's some advocacy information there as well. And so that's where you can find me. And let's support. Please go and if you have littles, there's a whole series there. If you have a middle grader, go and purchase those books because they're written to empower your child and they come from the heart. So they're passion projects for me and my co-writer, and so I hope that you'll go and purchase that and support your children, and donate one even. There are kids
That's awesome.
everywhere.
Yes, and put one in all the local libraries near you.
Yes, please, please, please. That's so important. And homeschool groups. And, I was with the homeschool group of kids a week ago and we played a really cool game. We took a sticky pad and every child had to write, I am, in a positive word. And then we played the music and put the papers around. And we stopped and everyone had to read what someone else had wrote, what
Oh,
they're
that's
saying about
awesome.
themselves. Kids loved it so much. We did it several times. So, just
I
little things
love
like that are empowering
And
to
you
children.
you just articulated why you are a woman of worth, as you
Mm,
are on a mission to
yes.
empower children, and they are our future generations. They are the world, right?
Yep.
And so I want to just say thank you again, Mary Elizabeth Jackson, for spending this time with us. And I acknowledge you as an incredible human being and congratulate you on being a woman of worth for 2022.
Well, thank you very much. And you know how I feel about you. So I'm one of your biggest fans. And, we're really trying to help the world be a better place. And it's from our heart and it's filled with passion and purpose, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you.